Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live from Kingsland, Texas, USA, with a filler for today. Rabbi Kaufman on controversial issues will be with us next week. But I figured I would open the phone lines and see if you guys wanted to call in and chat anyway. So thank you guys. Hopefully we'll see at least one or two of you. Give me a call, say hi. This is just a filler show. Rabbi Kaufman messaged me at the last minute, said he was not going to be available for today's show, and he would see us after Pesach. So I figured it'd be a rare occasion for me to just have a, call in and chat, big schmooze set up if you want, something of that nature. Ask questions, tell me a story, tell me how you're doing, whatever the case may be, having a real world get together, so to speak. Let me sign into the phone lines real quick, and we are in 855-952-4253 is the number. That's 855-95-BIBLE, as you all know by now. So as many of you know, my testimony was that it was around Passover. Actually, Passover was the issue for me. Eventually when I left Christianity altogether, and it will probably always remain that. It'll remain that way in general. Oh, this thing didn't log in. Hang on, just want me to download an update. Remind me later. There we go. Oh, and I guess I should turn the music down too. It's weird when I'm having somebody else on the show. I get to do all this stuff while they're talking, but since there's no one else to talk with me, I got to do everything. So it's good. It's good to see you guys. But anyway, so yeah, Passover for me was the big kicker. Once again, phone lines are open. Call me 855-952-4253. There was just so many issues with it altogether. From I used to think originally I thought that perhaps it was just one or two issues that was causing the Jewish people to stump. And so I figured, well, if I can go and show them the rest of these issues, or actually go up there and show them all the positive stuff about it, that maybe they would, soften up to the idea. And as it turned out, that's totally not the case at all, because it wasn't just one or two issues. It's like there's every single thing possible is actually wrong with the whole Passover Easter thing. And I didn't realize it, even when I first started learning about it, I only knew of a couple issues, but the more you go, the more stuff you see. So, but yeah, for everything from, one of the things that I find ironic the most now regarding Passover and regarding, I think my mic might be too hot. Let me turn my master down just a little bit. Check 1, 2, not that much. Check 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's probably fine. I think my headphones are too hot. So the most craziest thing for me that I've just recently been paying more attention to is the laws of the sacrificial system, how everything has to be unblemished. You can't offer something as an offering that has a scar, that's got a damaged eye, that's got a cut, a wound, a scrape, anything, a broken bone. Of course, I'm not saying Jesus had a broken bone, but the thing is, at the time of death, whatever dies has to be flawless. It can't have any blemishes on its visual body at all, as well as it can't have any internal things, I guess you could say, with internal bleeding or anything like that. So the whole idea that Jesus was the perfect lamb, perfect sacrifice is by far one of the biggest fallacies that is still being bought by the Christian church. No, it's not in here. All right. So anyway, I don't plan on talking by myself this whole time, guys. I really hope somebody will call in and we can have a little discussion if you want to. I got to turn the heat down. I did say heat. I know it's actually supposed to be up to 90 here in Texas tomorrow. So there's one, and then another issue is, as we all know, with sacrifices. A sacrifice that you kill has to stay dead. It can't. If it comes back to life, it's no longer a sacrifice. So was Jesus just a 3-day sacrifice, or was he an eternal one? That's the question. So, all right, here we go. Got a caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. Who am I speaking with?
Hello, William. What's up?
Hey, man. How are you? Who is this?
This is Clark from Philadelphia.
Hey, welcome. How are you?
I think I called in yesterday. Yeah, I called in yesterday.
Right. To Rabbi Singer show? I think so.
The one who is unkosher Jesus.
Oh, right. Oh, Chillin. Okay, that was the last show for yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock. Got it. Very good. Very good. So how are you doing?
Yeah, and I just, I'm doing good, man. Just trying to ride out this virus.
Right, gotcha. Right on.
I just want to, you guys are doing an amazing job with Tovia Singer, Rabbi Tovia Singer, because there are unfortunately a lot of Jewish people who don't really know a lot about Judaism and how to respond back to missionaries.
Right.
And it's just surprising how the New Testament is like like they deliberately mistranslated stuff, and like if you read it uncritically, you're going to be like, oh, that sounds like him.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you read it in context, like, no, that's not what it's talking about.
Right. One thing I was told one time a long time ago was that even with Jewish people that have gone through yeshiva, that in yeshiva they didn't really study the prophets. They just they studied the Torah and the laws and that sort of thing. And so whenever you take somebody who has left yeshiva and maybe he has to move to a remote area where there isn't a lot of places for him to be, and then he gets approached by someone off the side, and they present things to you, especially like the Messianics, because they're a lot more crafty about their approach than Christians are, because of course they're Christians too, but they're just a different I guess you say a classification of Christian, if you will. But their approach is so much more common to what the Jew would actually expect, right? A lot of them will, be wearing a kippah and tzitzit, and and they'll approach you, and they won't say. They know the things not to say, so they don't say the things that would be red flags. They only tell you the things that you might buy, So they're good fishermen, if you want to call it that. No one goes out and throws a lure out in the water for something they know is not going to work. They want to try to something that looks the most real, and that's kind of how it is. So. But anyway, yeah, so...
Yeah, that's the thing about Judaism, though. Like, yes, they're the prophets, but the main focus, like the yearly, reading, that's just the 5 books of Moses with the Haftorah, with the prophet, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With the prophets sprinkled in. The prophets are important, and yes, but the main, focus is the 5 books of Moses, at least for, the Torah readings. But, of course, Jews, at least the knowledgeable ones, yes, they know all the prophets.
Right.
But for some reason, it makes sense because they like the prophets because they think they're talking about, the Messiah, the future, and then, that's the whole Christianity was based about.
Right.
That one idea. But if you read the prophets in context, it's they're really not talking about that in the way you think you are. You're just, taking pieces out of it that sound similar, but there's still problems with that.
Right, gotcha. Wow, I totally hear you, man. It's definitely a need, and that's why I encourage the viewer, all the viewers, including yourself. I mean, if anybody has a resource available to them where they can also put out teachings on the internet, for with the right information, more of this needs to get out there. Tanakh Talk can't be the only show, the only video program.
Yeah, it can't be the only show, although you guys are doing a bang-up job, but yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Honestly, what I use is, I think Jews for Judaism is one of the best resources.
Oh, yes, indeed. And they
Jews for Jews, because they have this one thing that's the contradictions from the New Testament to the Old Testament. You just read it, and it's wow, it's really apparent.
Right. Very true. Well, man, thanks so much for calling in. I appreciate it. At least now I know the phone lines are
You're
working.
welcome,
so
man.
we're good.
Keep up the good work with Rabbi Singer, and I hope your family stays healthy.
Thank you, brother. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye. Awesome. A couple of people have already called in. I don't have the option to answer a ringing call and to put it on hold. Whenever I answer it, it automatically puts the other caller, it automatically hangs up that one and actually makes it live. So I haven't figured out how to do that. I don't know why. And there's probably a way. I just haven't researched it enough to figure it out. So anyway, so the phone lines are back open. I was going to hop into YouTube real quick and see who's there. Hey, Julie, Paul Brill. Chillin. Oh, that's a good idea, Julie. We should have to do exactly that maybe the next time I have a fill-in show. Daniel Martinez, Love Rockefeller. Hey, bragging about Oh, now that's funny. That's very interesting. Says Christians are bragging about the fact that Rabbi Singer won't have a repeat debate with Michael Brown that he did in 1993. What's funny is they had agreed to, at that time, that they wouldn't edit the video when they were done, and they would just let people come to their own conclusions. Well, what they did, what Sid Roth and Michael Brown did, was before they posted their Big Banger video, is they took the actual interview, the debate between Rabbi Singer and Michael Brown, and they edited out certain answers that Rabbi Singer gave. On top of that, rather than leaving the video footage in its original form, they added an extra hour to that video and basically produced a 2-hour video off of a 1-hour show, which is something they agreed not to do. And so what you're hearing is Sid Roth and Michael Brown discussing this whole thing behind Rabbi Singer's back. So it's kind of really, it's very dirty. So, hey, welcome to the show. This is Wil'Liam. You are live on the air.
Hi, I have a question about the Passover Seder.
Hey, Rabbi, how are you? You didn't think you could sneak under the radar, did you?
Darn, I thought I could sneak by you.
No way, Rabbi Federow, you don't. Oh man, what a great time for you to chime in. How are you? I'm glad to hear you're healthy. You sound happy.
I'm fine. I was going to ask you about the 4 kinds of children: the wise one, the evil one, the one who does not know how to ask, and the one who can't ask a question.
Okay. Am I supposed to know the answer to this, by the way?
I was going to ask, which one are you?
I think people would argue.
Well, you're no fun.
Probably different options on that one. Wow. Hey, I can't wait to see you tonight. We got to figure out what our leading topic is for tonight. So all the viewers out there, if y'all have any ideas, put it in this YouTube chat. Since I've got Rabbi Federow watching, what topic would y'all like us to lead into? I think we should just stick with Passover, to be honest with you, and really just hash it up. What did we do last week specifically? I could have to go back and rescan that again. I do so many shows I can't remember what we did when.
Last week we did. I forgot already.
Yeah, same here.
You're asking an old man what his memory, for memory.
So unless I go back and see that we covered most of Passover things already, then maybe that's what we'll do tonight. We'll go over and just start chipping away at this whole issue. All like there's many problems in it we can find. It's kind of what was my goal for today, was to just hopefully discuss things with people and start pointing out different things. That was the issue with Passover, and a good learning opportunity for me and everybody else. So, but it's good.
Well, if you want to take a look at the 4 Gospels, there are no less than 31, I think, but there's more than 30 different contradictions between the 4 Gospels on what's called the Passion narrative.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. Which I think we've talked about before.
It's been a while. We have, yeah. My whole goal with all of our shows is any time around the holy days is to do shows regarding the holy days. So I think it's time anyway. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Hey, whatever you like.
Very good. And I didn't have you on caller ID. I just instantly recognized your voice. I mean, you're like family.
Oh, that's no fun. I was going to make it sound like I was asking a serious question and ask you, well, which son are you?
That's funny. All right, Rabbi, we'll see you tonight.
Absolutely. Have fun.
Okay. Love you. See ya. That's awesome. Wow, very cool. All right, guys, phone lines are back open again. So where were we at? So yeah, tonight that's probably something that we're going to do. We're probably going to get into to picking out all the details. And so it would be nice. You know what y'all could do if you wanted to would be, as I mentioned a minute ago, in this chat, YouTube chat thing now. Y'all put out your just in a just put bullet points on there. Just put a little asterisk and then. Boom, and then that way I'll know to look for the asterisks, and that's going to be the topic for Passover. Or you can just put Passover in all caps and then in lowercase put in the problem. And what I'll do is I can go back and gather all y'all's questions or points and bring them up tonight. And if I can do it right, I'll try to put the name of who mentioned which point, and then Rabbi Federow and I will actually discuss y'all's points that you guys bring to the table. That would be kind of nice, actually. Rabbi, I think you're probably still listening. You probably think that's a good idea too, I imagine. So anyway, so so by the way, the whole thing about the sacrifice not coming back to life, Rabbi Federow was the first person I heard that from. And I was like, that is absolutely brilliant. I think your words were, Rabbi, he just basically gave up a weekend, right? He didn't give his life for us. He gave up a weekend for something. Wasn't us, though. However, that's what the story is. And so with everything else, the whole idea that there is no demand for blood sacrifice, according to Tanakh, the Hebrew Scriptures, or a.k.a. Old Testament, as they like to call it. In the Torah, there's no demand for blood sacrifice for sin. In fact, there's no blood sacrifice at all for sins of rebellion. And even when they are accepted, it's only for sins that you did by accident. Another issue I found that was really interesting with Passover, is the story of Pesach. It basically was protecting the firstborn son in each home from death. And so if the death of Jesus was supposed to be a Passover scenario, then, and if in fact his death could atone, it would have only atoned for the firstborn son in each home. It wouldn't have atoned for the mother, the father, unless the father was also a firstborn son, or so to speak, something like that. So, so basically everything about it was wrong, including the death part. Not the death, the location of death would be another issue. In Isaiah 53:9, the first part, let me read it, because if I don't read it, it won't, I'll probably get something messed up with it. So let me scroll back up here. Give me 1 second. And again, thank you guys for watching and calling in. I really hope to talk to you guys. Isaiah. Come on, scroll. Oh, I'm in the writings. What happened there? Oh, there it is. Yep. And the prophets go to him. There we go. Not Joshua, Isaiah, Yeshayahu, chapter 53. Oh, I got to type that in, don't I? Or select it. There we go. Go, scroll 53. I'm actually going to try to get some better software. I have some, but I don't have a CD drive to get it onto this computer. I guess CD drives are becoming obsolete these days. All right, so Isaiah 53, verse 9. So we all know the theme. Jesus died between, he died on a cross, right, between two thieves, or two criminals, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm going to read this to you, I'm going to read this from me, not from Chabad.org, but I'm going to read it to you from King James, the King James Version, because that's the most strictest one that Christians will use. So even in their own Bibles, this creates a problem if they actually would even look at it. And so I'm switching from Chabad over to a different resource real fast. And so go to Isaiah 53, verse 9. It says, he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. So he made his grave, the place where you die, with the wicked, and with the rich in his death. So where he died, or when he died, it says he was with the rich, and his burial was with the wicked. But we know that just the opposite happened with Jesus. Where Jesus got buried was actually in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, who was a very wealthy man, right? And he died between two thieves. So here it says that his death will be with the rich in his death. So that's another issue. That's and as Rabbi Federow had pointed out too before, it doesn't say death in Hebrew. It says death's plural, which means there's more than one death. So what else is there? First, I'm going to go back to YouTube back and forth, because I want to see that I'm not missing anything. Okay, let's look at John 10:30. Someone just brought that up, so I'm going to go there now. I'll see if I can put these on screen too, but I don't have a screen set up for it yet, I don't think. Okay, let's go back. Book list. John chapter 10, verse 30. Okay, John 10:30. I and my Father are one. You know, there's There's obviously a problem with that. You could say that he was speaking metaphorically, meaning that like me and my dad, for example. There was a period of time I was working in his Messianic synagogue with him, teaching the youth and also doing video production and things like that. And I knew all the stuff about my dad. I knew how he thought. I knew what made him tick. I knew what made him happy. I knew what made him sad. And so if somebody came up to me and asked me, "Hey, can we do this?" I'll be like, or they would say, "Hey, can you ask your dad if we could do this?" And I'm like, "You can't do that." And he goes, "No, at least ask your dad." I'm like, "No, I'm not going to ask him. I know what he knows. Me and him are like we're one mind on this stuff." So that idea could have been that it was he was meaning that to be metaphorical in the sense that that they are one mind, so to speak. But we know elsewhere where there's it really confirms more that it points that Jesus and God are the same. They're one and the same. Like the whole thing with the Trinity wasn't even something originally found in this concept. In fact, you find conflict with the Trinity in many places here when I'm specifically referring to three. You have the Father, the Son, the Father, Son, and the Spirit, right? That's the primary. But I think in Revelations it says something like there's the Father, the Word, and the Spirit, and then one says that the Father, the Spirit, and the water, or something like that. There's differencing, and maybe that's where they came up with the idea that there are three aspects, and then they finally agreed and pinpointed what they thought it should be. I don't know. So let's see. Let me go back here now to, let's go back and see some more. I don't want to miss y'all's comments, so I'm having to scroll at the top. Put it this way, if you guys have a comment or a question you want me to bring up and talk about, then when you type in your statement, type in an @ symbol and then put Tanakh Talk in there, and it should turn, it should give you an option to select Tanakh Talk when you start typing it, and then type out your statement, and when it comes up, it'll flag me so I can scroll quickly, and I won't have to read every comment. I can just scroll and look for a flag and read that one thing. It'll make things much better for me. So there we go. God, same in the Holy Bible. Okay, let's see. It says Jesus said, "I and God is same" in the Holy Bible. Okay. Hey, EJ, thanks for tuning in. Daniel Martinez, I already said hi to a couple of you guys. Majobri, hello. Majobri, I'm not sure how to say that. XYZ Solution, 10 Plagues, yep, Significance, very good. Okay, let's see, what else what we got? Tore Muscle, wil'Liam. Oh, hey, Chaz, what's up, man? Oh, now I got you. I don't know that I'll remember that that's you, Tore Muscle, from my friend Chaz there. Let's see who else I'm missing. If I'm missing you guys, seriously, just flag it by saying something. Hey, Eddie, good to see you there. Let's see, what else? There is a comment. Okay, I have a more personal situation. My house isn't observant. I only barely observe the mitzvot, such as Shabbat or selling chametz or Passover. How can I observe Pesach in this circumstance? Okay, so I'm gonna pronounce it Majobri. That's just the way it looks to me. Hopefully that's right. So your question was that your house situation is not compliant with active Judaism in the sense of things. But so my question to you, first of all, would be are you Jewish? If you're not Jewish, it really doesn't matter. If you are Jewish, then you need to figure out a way to do your best and get and celebrate this as much as possible. Now, when I say are you Jewish, I mean either by blood or by an actual conversion process. So yeah, I know how it could be sad in that situation, but yeah, you definitely want to. If you're not Jewish, but you're really pulled to do it, then do something special. Find out some of the basics if you don't know what the basics are. And do something to connect your heart and your nefesh with the Creator. You know what I mean? Being that you aren't Jewish, if that's the case, you don't have the laws that are really found to be binding for the non-Jew as they do for a Jew. So there are things you shouldn't do. You should find out what those are if you actually are considering that altogether. So, I just dropped YouTube. I was trying to keep YouTube up and open so I can see it. Where'd it go? Okay, I don't see any flags yet, so, all right. Yeah. Okay, yes, we are. Oh, you're all Jewish. Oh, okay, gotcha. Huh, interesting. Okay, yeah, I could see that would definitely be an issue. I would say maybe actually it's going to be even harder now with the COVID-19 thing going on. I was going to say, if that was not the case, maybe when next year comes around, then maybe you could just pull away and find a synagogue around you, or find a Jewish family who's having it, who has an open door, and attend that if you can't do it in your own home. So, okay, here we go. Okay, very good, very good. All right, I'm not going to read everything out loud. If I see something interesting, I will. But then again, I don't want too much dead air here either. So, non-believers are antichrist. Actually, that's not true, Summit. My point to that is, let me see what this is. Hang on. Nobody I know. Okay, so Summit said non-believers, meaning non-believers in Jesus, are antichrist or anti-Messiah, and that's actually not true. Now, some of them can be, but the idea, like for example, most of the Jewish population, is all of the Jewish population, I would go as far to say, who are educated in the Tanakh, who understand the Torah, the first 5 books, and they understand the prophets and things like that. I would say none of them believe in Jesus, yet none of them are anti-Messiah at all. That anti-Messiah means that you don't believe in the idea of a Messiah. They do. He hasn't come yet. Okay, so now I know you're referring to the spirit of the Antichrist mentioned in the New Testament, but again, that just can't. It's not trustworthy. I mean, the idea, if Jesus was the Messiah, then you could say, yeah, maybe so, but that's just not the case. So yeah, that's just not true. Okay, Paul Brill, can you talk about the covenant with the Jewish people? What aspect of it? First of all, I'm not an expert in it, but I do know the concepts of things. So you would have to tell me what aspect of the covenant you're speaking of. I will tell you this, that the idea, hold on. Oh, that's actually true. I'm going to show that comment. And I'll come right back to your statement, Paul. Actually, no, let me answer yours first, but I'm going to highlight this other question so I don't forget it. Nope, stop scrolling. Okay, here we go. I'm going to highlight this. That way it stays highlighted and I can find it. Okay, Paul. One thing is, I believe it's in Jeremiah. It says, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with Judah and the house of Israel, however that works, right? The new covenant prophesied in the Hebrew Scriptures has nothing to do at all with Christians, has nothing to do at all with Hindus, Muslims, etc., etc. It has to do with the Torah-believing, God-fearing people specifically specified in that verse. 2 groups, right? So that's one issue. The other issue is a new covenant. The idea is that it's not a brand new thing, which is what the Christians are hoping for, because what they're doing is new, as different meaning, but it's a renewed covenant, if you will. It's like, if you have a loan or something, and you get to a certain point, you want to renew that loan to drop the interest rate. It's, in my opinion, it's kind of like that. Now, I understand that analogy can break down at certain points, but that's just the basic of it. Okay, so there we go. Okay, going back to the one I highlighted, Christians believe, this is from XYZ Solution, Christians believe if you don't worship Jesus, you go to hell. That is correct. That is absolutely not the case with Judaism, in the sense of the fear factor. They use that fear factor to drive people to Christianity, to scare them into it, if you will. And Judaism is not like that at all. The Torah doesn't teach that sort of a thing. So you should talk about how the 10. Oh yeah, that's a good point too. XYZ says should talk about the 10 plagues showed the Egyptian gods were false. Yeah, that's a good point too. It's a great story. I was going to go back to continue commenting on if you don't worship Jesus, you go to hell, right? The idea of the term Noahide, there's a lot of people who don't like that term because it's not a term that's actually used, but it is a concept. It's just not an official title. It's kind of like rabbi. We know that there's no mention of a rabbi in the Bible, in a sense of things. That didn't happen until like the title rabbi didn't come around. I think it was in the 2nd or 3rd century, I guess you could say, of the Common Era. But we understand back then, based on our concept of what a rabbi is, they had rabbis back then. They just didn't call them that, right? So this idea with the Noahide, which is basically a non-Jew who has acknowledged that Hashem is the creator of this universe, and there's only one God, and you're willing to embrace the 70 or 80 laws that apply to you, I would qualify you as being an active Noahide. Now, someone asked me, well, I have a friend of mine who's an atheist, so they're a Noahide too because they don't believe in idolatry, they don't do this, they don't do that, and I'm like, and from what I understand, that's not true. They're not a Noahide. Now, they will be held accountable to the Noahide laws. Again, I understand the term Noahide. They will be held accountable to those laws, but they themselves don't become one until they accept those laws. So that's the basic gist of that. All right, where are we at here? Okay. Hello, Barbara B. Raymond, good to see you, brother. Love the shirt, man. Really dig this shirt. I'm going to keep this baby as clean as I can, and I'm going to be washing it. It's probably you're going to probably see this thing fading pretty soon. So, anyway, thank you, Brother Raymond. That's awesome. All right, so the 613 commandments at Sinai. Okay. The idea of, now this is what I understand. My understanding of it, meaning I'm not saying that everything I say is absolutely accurate. I'm just telling you this is my comprehension of things, okay? The 613 laws, or the laws that were given to the children of Israel, right? There's a lot of good comments and good points to get brought out, and that was that during that time, the children of Israel, right? That was a lot of different people, whatever the case may be. Some say it was a heavy mixed multitude, whatever, heard the same thing, and they were all given that. I don't agree that they were given to the mixed multitude in the sense of the whole, because throughout the Torah, it specifically says, speak to the children of Israel. So even if there were Egyptians or other people who were sojourning with them, that specifically said, speak to the children of Israel. And in my opinion, I think that's Hashem's way of specifically making sure we knew that he was only speaking to those specific people. Otherwise, he would have said, speak to the people. But he didn't say speak to the people. So, yeah, you can ask any question you want, sir. Any question you want. I may not be able to answer it, but I'll do my best. Raymond, go ahead, brother. You can call in if you want. The phone line's open. So, and the phone volume is turned up. So, there you go. Can anybody elaborate John 10:30, please? Jesus saying, I and God are one. Okay, well, I can comment on it for you, Summit, and that is the fact that if you or someone else believes that Jesus is saying that I am God, or let me reverse that, I am God who came here in the flesh. So I am God in a flesh form, meaning God left heaven to come and fill this body so he could experience the suffering of a human, so to speak, and I get all that. The only issue with that is, well, there's a lot of issues with it, actually. One of them comes from the Torah, where it says he was speaking to the people, and he said, I appeared to you not as a man, lest you worship me. So way back in the Tanakh, we find that there's no way God would even appear as a man because he knows the nature of mankind. And Christianity actually proved it. So they think God did appear as a man, and they worship this man figure, which is exactly what God said not to do in Tanakh, right? So that's one thing. Another thing is, whenever the disciples asked Jesus about certain things, when the time is going to come, he goes, I don't even know that. Only God knows that. Okay, so he just basically said only the Father, basically telling you, the viewer, the listener, that, number one, he's not God. He's portrayed as a son of God, but he doesn't know, he's not in one mind with him, because if he did, he would know that fact as well. And so, there's actually a lot. There's a lot more to it than that. So, Raymond, I am looking for your question, brother. I can call you if you like, but I can't call you from the software. So if you can call in 855-952-4253, the number should still be on your screen, if I'm not mistaken. And it is. Okay, so I'm going to go now to Facebook and see if there's any dominating questions that need to be addressed there, and see what happens here. Let's see. We have... Okay, hey Sal, Philip, good to see you. Julie, you're all over the place. YouTube, Facebook. That's funny. Can issues pass over to their teenage children? Oh, that's good. Okay, so Carla Riddell has asked... Well, let me take this call. I think this might be my friend Raymond here. Hey, you're live on the air. Who am I speaking with?
This is Raymond.
Raymond, my brother, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Great, great, great. What question did you have in mind, sir?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm honored that you mentioned my name because you're wearing the shirt. But I'm even more honored to be able to provide that for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So here's my. You're welcome. Just give praise and glory to Hashem for that.
Amen. Amen.
So here's my question. This is going to be a little difficult.
Okay.
All right. When we start reading in the Exodus, especially around, I think it's Exodus chapter 5, verse 2, when Moses and Aaron go to meet with the Pharaoh, and they said, I think they said something about using the name of Hashem. But and the Pharaoh made a comment. He says, "I don't know who your Hashem is."
Mm-hmm.
So, but the funny thing is, when I sit there and I start looking in history, or not history, but history is fine. When I start looking in the previous chapters, in the verses, looking for the name of Hashem in Hebrew. And what I'm finding interesting is there is not a conversation that occurred that used the name of Hashem between Joseph and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. So then after Joseph is taken out of the prison and becomes second in charge of Egypt, why do we not see the same situation with Joseph as we see with Daniel in Babylon?
Okay, meaning Joseph using the name of Hashem?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Because if you remember in Daniel, the king kept, this was like saying, okay, we're going to be worshiping your God.
Mm-hmm.
But here we do not. So my question, what I'm getting at is, was the name of Hashem used during the time of Joseph in Egypt?
Gotcha. I would definitely have to look and see to that. I could see why maybe it wasn't. I mean, you had, it seems like you would have two different dynamics of storylines. But furthermore, Joseph had already received his mission, I guess you could say, he was fulfilling his mission, so to speak. And the context of everything there, it could have been. I mean, you can speculate on so many different levels, but I don't know. Again, this is definitely not my level of expertise here. But hey, if you want, I'll go ahead and hang up now. And let me take this other call, and I'll put them on hold. That way, kind of keep lines up, okay? And I'll do my best to answer. I'll watch for your replies on YouTube, okay? Thanks.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Very good. Okay, let me answer this. Okay, caller, sit tight. I'm gonna try to address Raymond's question real quick. And Rabbi Federow, if you're still watching, or any other rabbis out there, could comment on YouTube to help me with that. I would greatly appreciate it, because actually I don't know much about that. I know the basic idea of the sacred name and how and when it's applicable, or when it could be used in certain contexts. And the basic answer to that is, and I tell this, and my kids get this. I had a talk with my kids about this. I can tell you right now. My son is 14. He's fixing to be 15. My youngest daughter is 16. My oldest daughter is 24. And I can tell you right now, I have never in my entire life, not even once, had them call me William before. Not even one time. When they're talking to me, they don't call me William. When they were at school and a teacher asked who I was, they would say, well, his name is William, because she didn't know and she needed to know. So, with their cousins, they never referred to me with their cousins as William. They always would say, "Oh, Daddy said this." Well, the cousin knew exactly who they were talking about. There's no need to mention my name. So it's deemed disrespectful. So how much more so in the eyes of the Creator, right? And so the context of using of taking the whole idea of, don't take the Lord's name in vain, or use His name in vain. It would be pointless for when David is talking to Sarah, my son talking to my daughter, saying, well, William said this. I mean, it's pointless. It has no purpose whatsoever, other than to possibly be disrespectful, right? And so that's the general idea. So in context of this, the question that Raymond had, I don't know the actual answer to what you're asking, but it did make me think of this particular aspect of the Tetragrammaton. So anyway, I'm going to look on Facebook, on YouTube again real fast and see where your comments are. I got too many tabs open up here, and I'm looking. Raymond, do me a favor when you see this. If y'all are addressing me in chat, you got to tag to Knock Talk. Otherwise, I won't see it because I'm scrolling really fast just to see any orange boxes that have my name in it. Okay, very good. Okay, I don't see anything else there, and so I'm going to go ahead and take this caller. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from. You're live on the air.
Hello, am I on?
You are live on the air, yes, sir.
Okay, I have a question. It's one. Okay, as far as Christians, right, I come from a Christian background, and like in Hebrews, in the book of Hebrews, it talks about how like sin is the transgression of God's law.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Christians understand that, and they believe that the law of God is what was given on Sinai. And that's the law that was given to the Hebrew people, and anybody else that lives in the land, right? Because it's supposed to be one law for all the people that live in the land. So if I don't live in the land and I'm not Jewish, then how can I be a sinner needing a Savior? Because it's impossible for me to transgress a law that's not given to me. Like living in America, I can't transgression against a law that's from Russia. I don't live there.
Mm-hmm.
So how can a Christian be a sinner needing a Savior?
Okay, so
if they cannot transgress the law of God.
Gotcha. So, so here's the basic. My experiences have been this from teachings from pastors and preachers, etc. And I've been exposed to a lot of them. I mean, a lot. Even televangelists on talking on this issue. First of all, they believe that sin is transgression of the law comment that was made, but they also have that coupled with their idea that Jesus did away with the law, except for love your neighbor yourself, love God with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself, right? And so their idea is all they've got to do is obey those two, and that's what that verse is actually referring to. 90% of everybody I've ever talked to says this. In fact, in Hebrews chapter 10, there is something very troubling that I have never heard a pastor preach on, not even one time. In all my exposure to the thousands of hours of teachings, I've never heard anybody comment on Hebrews 10:26. Now, Hebrews 10:26 does make sense even to the Jew. I'm not saying they believe in the New Testament. That's not my point. This says, if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remains no more sacrifice for sins. And that's true in Judaism. Like blood sacrifice or anything that you kill to try to deal with your sin it only works if it's an accidental sin, something you didn't know about. Things that you know about, there is no sacrifice for that. And so that's exactly what this says. So there's a lot of things in the New Testament that teaches that does kind of match the idea of this. But the thing is, again, I've never heard a preacher preach this, not even once. I don't think they like the idea. Of course, I've never heard a preacher also preach on John either. The book of, was it John or First? I think it is John, or even First John, one of those. It's got really a lot of law-abiding things in there, right? Paul, believe it or not, I think Paul was taught differently to different crowds, because to some crowds, like in the book of Galatians, for example, is one of the most liberal ones in there. But then you have certain parts of Romans and even Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 5:8 talks about Paul saying, "Let us keep the feast," talking about Passover. But this is all New Testament, supposedly after Jesus died, but still they don't keep Passover, even though Paul said to do so, right? Let us keep the feast. They're not keeping the feast. So there's so many things in here that they do actually participate in, but most of them are things that are tradition, which is one thing that a lot of people are against Jewish people doing traditional things, yet they themselves do. A good example is they pray before the meal, and Hashem commanded to thank God after the meal once you're satiated. And so, so there's a lot of confusion for sure, But their whole thing about the laws in the land thing, in all the teachings I've ever heard, I've never heard no one acknowledge that before. I'm not sure what circle you're close to, or maybe it's a confined area, but I do know that with a lot of different denominations, they do have different spins on things. But their concept of sin is, doesn't matter what you do, God will forgive you for it, as long as you've accepted the blood of Jesus. And everything is wrong with that. There's nothing correct in that concept at all, as we all know. So that's kind of
because according to their own understanding, there's absolutely no way I can sin because I'm not Jewish and I don't live in the land.
See, here's the other thing too. Their concept of sin has nothing to do directly with the 613 laws. Their idea of sin is the natural stuff, which would deal a lot with the Noahide laws. But their idea of sin would be something like, oh my God, I yelled at my wife in anger. I sinned. A lot of the basic common stuff they know: don't steal, don't lie, whatever. But when you say to a Christian, please tell me what sin is, they won't tell you what the definition of sin is. They will give you examples of what a sin is, and some of the examples are in Torah, and some of them are just psychological battles that they deal with. So because they don't study the Tanakh, they don't know what sin actually is. They just know it's not something that feels good, that it goes against, what they would say the obvious things that you should avoid. Secular music, that's a sin to gamble. It's a sin to listen to secular music, sin to drink, right? These are concepts that they've developed over the years, but they're not something that they've actually extracted from Torah itself.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, man.
Well, brother, thank you for your call, man. Feel free. Tell me your name again. Who's this?
Actually, my name's Raymond too.
Oh, that's cool, Raymond. I think it cut out on when you came in to tell me your name, so that's good. Thank you, Raymond. Appreciate your call, man.
All right, thanks, William.
You bet. Bye-bye. Okay, good deal. We're at 47 minutes. Still got about 15 minutes left. Actually, we got longer than that if we wanted to go. My next show is not going to be until... I don't think we're going to have Hebrew class today because we do have a testimony lined up, I think. In fact, I'm pretty sure we do. I just got to find out who it is. I've got my notebook somewhere. I'll look it up in a minute. But usually we'll have the Hebrew after this. But because it's right here in the Pesach, entering the whole Pesach mode, we may not have that. But we are having Rabbi Federow later this evening, as we found out. So let's see where we at. I'm going to go back here to look at the YouTube. Philip, very good. How or when, this is by Philip Perisno. I think I missed one there. Did you say the braid? Novus, I'm saying that I'm going to try to do these in order. So, Philip, I'll come right back to you. So, Novus code searcher. Let me answer this call real fast and put it on hold. Caller, sit tight. I'll be right with you, okay? Okay, so... I said, let's see, the question is, did you say they prayed after the meal rather than before? I will say that I know the Torah tells you that you should pray after, not before. Now Jews will pray, but they will say a blessing before, but they'll also say the Birkat Hamazon at the very end, the after meal blessing. But Christians always pray before the meal. And I've never experienced anybody in my whole Christian walk for 20 plus years. I've never experienced anybody pray after the meal like the actual commandment is. So Novus, if you were unaware of that, that might be something you could look into yourself to start giving the blessing to Hashem when you have eaten and have become satiated in full. So there you go. And Philip, when will the northern kingdom be gathered back into the land? Are we to try to find our own way there, or are we waiting for a cataclysmic event? My holy brother, I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no educated ideas on that. My general thought was that as the Messianic age would come, I don't know if it's going to happen after the Messiah reveals himself and then people will be coming into the land. I don't know that. That would be a good question to ask Rabbi Singer or one of the rabbis for sure. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, Novus, I will definitely look into that. Yeah, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and take this caller. I just got all the Tanakh Talk tags taken care of. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, William. This is known as Mitzvah Gold. I'm on your channel for years
Oh,
now.
yes. I recognize your name there.
I actually grew up in Brooklyn around the observant people. I'm a Jew, but I'm more secular, but I'm starting to study at a later age. But I wanted to thank you. You got a fantastic thing going on here. Very highly respected Rav's on. Excellent show. And man, I remember when you first started, and now until now, amazing work you've done, and God bless you.
Thank you. But
there's one thing I just wanted to tell people. I worked with the Chabad Rebbe back in the 80s and 90s when he was still around. We used to go out and I used to help them fix this stuff, and because I'm secular, I'm not observant, so I'd be fixing stuff and helping them set up. But he was the first one to reach out to the Noahides and righteous Gentiles.
What was his name?
And the Rebbe of the Chabad Lubavitch, the big Rebbe on 770 and Eastern Parkway, he was.
Wow.
Yeah, Rabbi Kahana, even Rabbi Kahana, who was, I don't know if anybody knows that, but he's kind of a right-wing defensive guy for Israel and Jews. He supported and attended the first Noahide meetings in Texas.
How about
that? all the top rabbis in Israel and New York Board of Rabbis and the OU recognized Noahide. It's not some silly thing that someone invented. This is a serious thing, and the Rambam, I'll quickly end up, I don't want to take too much time, but the Rambam says clearly righteous Gentiles have to do the right thing for the Mashiach to come. So it's not just about the Jews doing all these laws and rules. It's the whole world. It's for everybody. In fact, the Orthodox Jews pray 3 times a day for the welfare of the entire world, not just them.
Nice.
So I just want everyone to know it's a big misunderstanding sometimes that people, they get mad or it's not an exclusive group just for the Jews. It's for everybody. And right now, my daughter and granddaughter in Bronx, I'm terrified. I mean, and their aunt just passed away from this thing 2 days ago.
I'm so sorry.
And, it's just, God, I mean, let's hopefully these medications they have that. Hey, also, there's a Chabad, Orthodox doctor is the one that told President Trump about this hydroxyquinine. His name's Dr. Zev Zelenko. It's been on the internet for a while, and it's working. They're using it in New York.
Oh, very good.
700 elderly people, no hospital, no ventilator, no death.
Nice.
So,
yeah, that's awesome.
This may help everybody calm down a little bit, okay?
Yeah,
so I won't keep yakking here.
Hey, man,
have a good Pesach.
Thank you, brother. You as well.
Okay?
Shalom. Take care.
Have good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, good deal. We've probably got time for a couple more calls. It's only got about 10 minutes left, 8 to 10 minutes. So, and like I said, we can go over if we need to, but I won't push it over unless there's a purpose for it. So, yes, indeed. So let me go back now to the YouTube chat. Again, I haven't been able to follow the Facebook chat simply because every time I go back and forth, it keeps scrolling and I have to scroll to try to find it. Let's see. And I don't see any more. Okay. You've got me reading things now because I don't see any tags, but there's a lot of comments. So, okay. So yeah, I'm just going to wait on that. So, all right. So anyway, as we go into, people ask me mostly about whenever I go to talking to people who are like Christians who are slightly open-minded, or maybe they're only curious. I'm not sure. They have a hard time letting go, but sometimes I don't want to overwhelm them with so much. But then again, I think they asked, so if I don't give them everything at once, they're never going to talk to me or ask me about it again. So this is my one chance. I should go ahead and hand something to them that they can actually swallow. So I would advise that, when this is all said and done, we all make a list of things that are just wrong with Passover, wrong with the Passover Easter story, the no need for sin sacrifice, the fact that Passover had nothing to do with sin whatsoever, it had to do, with Hashem bringing the people out of Egypt, and it had to do with this literally destroying the gods of the Egyptians, of course, and that's another biggie. Somebody mentioned it earlier, I think, about the gods of Egypt. The lamb itself, the fact that that Christians claim that Jesus was the Passover lamb, they don't realize this, but that's further proof that Jesus himself is a pagan god. Sorry. Because if he's going to say, "I am the lamb that you slaughtered and you spread the blood on the doorpost," well, what was the lamb? You got to go back and find out, and it was actually one of the Egyptian gods, just as well as all the plagues with all the lice and the frogs, and so on and so forth, had to do with the gods of the Egyptians. So let's see what else we got. Oh, let's take that call. Scared me. I had the thing turned up too loud. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell me your name, where you're calling from. You're live on the air. Caller, you're live on the air, and I've got the volume turned up so I know I can hear you. But I don't hear anything, though. Caller, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, guys, when you call in, you're going to have to make sure that... I've got a question I may have to answer right here on the phone for the show today. But when you call in, be sure to keep the phone in your hand up to your ear, or put it on speakerphone so you can hear me talking through your phone, because what you see on your computer is about 10 to 15 seconds delay in actually what's actually happening. So caller, one more time. Are you there? Okay, I hung up that call. I'm going to turn the volume down some so it doesn't scare me when it rings in this time. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's a really tough question. Okay, so a person on Facebook Messenger has sent me a message question. First, I want to check the ones on YouTube, because this is going to be more of a direct connection. Even tells them, "Eat my flesh." I see that's another issue. Thank you, Novus. Good point. It says Jesus even tells them, "Eat my flesh and drink my blood." That's horrible. I mean, that's like the worst thing in the world. Blood is forbidden, and forbidden to intake in any scenario. And so for him to use that in that scenario is it's beyond me. Eat my flesh, drink my blood. First of all, even if it was eat my flesh was legit, humans are unkosher. I mean, what? Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. What Jew who's an observant Jew who keeps the Torah would ever eat the flesh of anything unclean? Even more so. Now I'm talking about, in the sense of halakha, in the sense of how the oral law declares clean and unclean. And it would never happen. So what Jesus was doing was absolutely, I'm going to use the word an abomination. That's just in my brain. You can justify that however you want to, but that was something that would never have been happening at all. Okay, so Irada, I don't know how to say your name, but thank you for your message. So recently the rabbi posted a video about Purim and how God was there, but he was behind the scenes. Where was God during the Holocaust? Was his hand behind the scenes as well? If you can explain, thanks. Okay, so I don't know if you're watching or if you just sent this to me hoping I can message you on Facebook. I don't know yet. But again, that's not my area of expertise. I do have my opinions, right? And if I say my opinions, that's strictly what they are. So don't take this out of context in the sense of things. I'm not telling you how things are. I'm telling you my perspective. I do know that in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew Scriptures, aka Old Testament again, in case you just tuned in, Christians call it the Old Testament. There's prophetic areas where it suggests that the Jewish people will suffer for different times, different things. So the Holocaust could have very well been something to where it was a fulfillment of prophecy, maybe. Don't know, but where was God at the time? God is. I would say he was never gone. Maybe behind the scenes is a good explanation of that. Behind the scenes, like in Purim. So anyway, so that's that. wil'Liam, thanks for calling in. By the way, yeah, humanity during the Holocaust. Yeah, that's true. Where was it? No doubt. Phone's going crazy again. Let's see, Pesach theme. Okay, it looks like we may be having our Hebrew class today after all. That was Gabriel Sanders, who is our Hebrew teacher, is... Oh, no, he says next week. Okay, yep, so not this week. So I'm going to say sure, no problem. Okay, let me tell him I'm doing a show. Hey, brother, doing a show right now. Come on, you can tune in if you want, or you can call in. Okay, here we go. Got that. Now it looks like Paul Garcia is calling in. I had your name. Hey, Paul. I had your name stored in here for some reason, so welcome.
Hey, William, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you today?
I got a question for you. I'm doing fine. Thanks to God.
Yes, Berkshire.
Would it be okay for Noahide to, on Passover night, to sit around and read Exodus?
That's a great question. I mean, here's the thing. The laws for the Noahide are they're kind of discussed, but they're kind of not discussed, I guess you could say, in Noah law, in the Mishnah Gemara or whatever. But they're not real specific in the sense of things. I mean, one of the best explanations I've heard was that by one of the rabbis is that during the time of back in that time when the oral law was written, so to speak, there wasn't a flux of Noahides coming out of the woodworks like there are now. So it wasn't a huge thing. So their discussions about things back in that time were not so populated, if you will. And so when you talk to different rabbis, a different rabbi might say something slightly different than the next one. It's not that they're wrong. It's just that this stuff has not really been pinpointed yet, So my understanding of it is you can participate in. Let me back up. One thing that this will be associated with your question to some degree. One fallacy, I'm pretty sure it's a fallacy that I've heard before, is that it's forbidden for a non-Jew to study the Torah or to read the Torah. What I heard was something different. It would be forbidden for a non-Jew to study the oral law, the oral Torah. That makes more sense to me because they don't have any means of studying it without directly access to a rabbi, and therefore they don't understand the context of it. It would be like me who knows how to put a Band-Aid on a cut or how to put peroxide on a scrape, going to the library and checking out a book on brain surgery. And I would start reading this stuff, and some of the terms don't make sense. I would have to assume. Next thing you know, I'm assuming the wrong thing. And then, God forbid, I try to put something in practice, I'd kill somebody because I don't know. You would have to be trained by a professional. And so now with that said, you wanting to participate in something on Passover is, in my opinion, is a great thing. The way we handle being a Noahide in our house, or being a non-Jew, a righteous non-Jew, is that we participate in everything we can, but we're very careful not to try to imitate the Jewish people, right? It would be...
they have the Haggadah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a Haggadah too, but...
Like you're saying,
say again?
So like you're saying, there's so many things up in the air that there's different rabbis, different opinions.
Right.
So it's really not a good idea then, or is it?
You know what? I wouldn't even go. I wouldn't say that. I would just say it's not a good idea for a person who's not a Jew to try to research it so deeply that they know every single thing that the Jewish people does and tries to mimic that, because that's something that, according to halakha of Orthodoxy, is forbidden for a non-Jew to do. The way I kind of describe this to people is this. If I went out in public myself, and because I love the idea of law enforcement, if I bought a uniform and bought a badge and bought a gun and had the belt and had a hat and had the car and everything, painted my car up to look like a cop car and put the lights on it and everything, I went out there imitating this cop, I would be thrown in jail for that. You cannot impersonate a police officer. You want to become a police officer, you have to go to school for it, and you have to pass, and you have to go through the right resources. Being a Jew is, in my opinion, very much the same. When I became a Messianic after I left Christianity, the first thing I wanted to do was to show the people around me that I'm not Christian anymore. You wear a tallit, you wear a yarmulke, you put your fringes on, and I did all that for several years, for 3 or 4 years. And then when I started realizing this, that when I'm out in public wearing this stuff, I'm appearing to everybody out there Jewish.
So they're assuming you're Jewish.
Right,
yes. And then you're driving on Shabbat. Yeah.
Right, right, and so it does nothing but fester confusion, and again, we have to keep in mind the concept behind it all: impersonating a police officer, impersonating a Jew. It's just that should make sense to a lot of people. I'm hoping so.
Well, thanks so much, William.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, and you have a great show, and may God continue to bless you in everything you do.
Okay, very good. Hey, and I just realized I didn't quite punch in your question yet. My advice to you could be, I won't say should be, I'll say could be, read the Seder, because you want to get your head in the game. You want to get your head into what they experienced. But anywhere in the Seder where there's a prayer where it says God has commanded us, whether it's the washing of the hands or the blessing of the wine, whatever the case may be, you don't want to say that, because we are not part of us. We're not part of us. That part of us yet. So the Jewish people. So, and just kind of go through it casually. Use it as a teaching thing for your family. Really enjoy it. Read the book of Exodus. Yes, by all means. We have a habit, and I still like it because I really love the movie, even though the movie's flawed like a lot. But I still love it. Watching the Ten Commandments, because even though there's a lot of it's wrong, there's a lot of it that was symbolically right. You know what I mean? And so we enjoyed that. So I would say just get into the spirit of Pesach and just try to stay engulfed in that. Our family also, we don't necessarily clean out our house of chametz, because that's really, again, is strictly for the Jew. But we do every year we do wind up buying matzah, and throughout the 7 days, the 8 days, we won't eat regular bread. My wife stops making bread, and we just eat the matzah when we want a bread item, just because we want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? And we want to this is kind of our way of connecting, if you will. So that's the best I got for you for right now.
Well, thank you so much, William, for
you
your
betcha.
time.
My pleasure, Paul.
Like I said, blessings upon you. May you just continue to be blessed.
Thank you, brother. And you guys stay healthy and provided for. We'll talk to you soon. Shalom, shalom. Okay, very good. And wow, it's already an hour. Man, it feels like we've only been doing this for like 30 minutes or so. Okay, so if there's not another caller in the next minute, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect. Meanwhile, I'm going to do another quick look for any flagging in. I'm an Orthodox Jew living. Oh, that's cool. Okay, Yiska. Yiska, if you're still watching, send me an email, tanaktalk@gmail.com. Okay? And then you can send me your information. And then, let's see, I think that's all the flags. Okay, we might make this the last call. Caller, welcome to the show. You're live on the air.
How you doing? Can you hear me pretty good?
I can. It's a little muffled, but I can still hear you, though.
Okay. I'm Chris, calling from Florida.
Hey, Chris, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. My question is, it's about John the Baptist.
Okay.
John the Baptist, is he a Christian or a Jew? And if he's a Jew, how credible, how much authority does his words have? That's my question.
How much authority does his what?
His words. I mean.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's a great question. Thanks, man. I'll go ahead and answer this as best I can, okay? Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to close the phone lines just because it's past an hour. I'm going to log out real fast. Give me 1 second. Okay, so first of all, John the Baptist, here's my residing opinion. First of all, if it's in the New Testament, to me, it doesn't really matter whether they were Jewish or not. All the writings of the New Testament, if anything in the New Testament contradicts anything in Tanakh, then it's got to be thrown out, right? I will say John the Baptist did say something for sure that was accurate, that also helped, in my opinion, prove that Jesus was not the Messiah, in that Jesus said that surely John the Baptist is Elijah in the flesh. At some point they had sent disciples to ask John, are you Elijah? And John said no. So, so there's a lot of confusion there. So whether John was a Jew or not, I will say that the book, I need to look this up now, but it's been such a long time, but I think it was 1 John. That I'm thinking of that really gets into making you think. Whoever wrote 1 John, I don't know if it's the same book, same author as the John that we know in the Gospels or not, but it doesn't seem like there is that this flows with the rest of the New Testament. It seems like it is very much one of the things that preachers don't like preaching in, because it just doesn't have enough grace, if you want to say that. But I'll have to look back into that. That might be a good topic for next time we have this little discussion. But whether he was Jewish or not, it's. I've heard arguments that all of the New Testament authors were all Jewish and stuff like this, and I've heard that they weren't. And the language wasn't Hebrew, it wasn't Aramaic. You can buy an Aramaic English New Testament, but it was reverse engineered. Just letting you know, I have a copy of it, and you can tell. And it so it's really your question is, are his words credible? If his words match that which is in Tanakh, then yes. If his words conflict it, then no. And if he does something anywhere, this would apply to Jesus especially. Jesus was a Jew. If he spoke something that was wrong, keep in mind we don't know what Jesus actually said, because nowhere in any of the entire New Testament will you find a place where Jesus told somebody to write something down. That's all recollection is 30, 40, 50 years after the fact of him being here. So you don't really know what Jesus did or didn't say, but we do know Jesus himself did preach to obey the laws and most of his teachings. I've got about 25 verses or so that I've got saved up where he was actually teaching to keep the law. Matthew 5:17, I think is or 5, something like that. Actually, let me look that up too. I hate trying to tell you something and being curious if I'm actually giving you the right reference or not. So let me take just a second and look that up. I'm going to see what Matthew 5:17 is. I think I know that's the one where he says, the scribes and the Pharisees. That's Matthew 17, no, in Matthew 5. Go back. Sorry, guys. It's the downside of having one person on the show. I can't multitask, talk, and look for something at the same time, it looks like. So, okay, I clicked on it. Why don't you open up? There we go, Matthew 5. Oh, Matthew 5. 13, 17. Oh, no, actually, this is one of the two references I was thinking of. But here is one where Jesus is teaching about the law itself. Okay, it says, Matthew 5:17. Think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I'm going to stop right there. The second half of it confused Christians, which I don't know how it does, but it does. Second half says, I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And they say, well, that means you can't do it anymore. I said, no, that would be destroying it if you take it away where nobody does it. So, but he said, think not, I did not come to destroy the law or the prophets. Verse 18, for verily I say unto you, until heaven and earth pass, not one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law until all be fulfilled. So that sentence alone says that until heaven and earth pass. Well, you can't see heaven, but you can see the earth. Look out your window. Is the earth still here? Well, then the law is still in effect, right? So, and here it says, whoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commandments and shall teach men to do so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. That's a little bit of a violation right there. He shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven if he teaches men otherwise. At least it appears to be a violation, because in Deuteronomy 13 it says, if you teach men to ignore my commandments, that you deserve to die. Now, I don't know if that just means like eternally death as well, or maybe it's just physically. Who knows? So maybe it's something deeper there, right? And then let's go back to now Matthew 7. I'm not sure what verse it is. 7:21, I believe. Book list. I'll try to find that real fast for you. Matthew. I'm going off memory, and some of these I haven't looked up in 5 or 6 years. So Matthew 7:14, I think it is. Oh, that's funny. No, but Matthew 7:14 is something very interesting. We all know that Christianity is the largest spiritual group of humans on the planet. It's like if you Google what are the largest people group, Christians are going to be the largest. Like 53% of the globe claim to be Christians. Matthew 5:13 says, I got the wrong thing highlighted. It says, enter ye at the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there will be there. Okay, because straight is the gate, verse 14, and narrow is the way which leads to life, and few there be that find it. So Jesus is saying in 5:14 that only few are going to find this truth, this light. But the majority of our population of the globe are already there. So you could safely call that a false prophecy. If you look up the smallest people group in the world, on the globe, or one of the smallest ones, guess what you're going to find? Jews, right? In a sense of things. So maybe he didn't falsely prophesy, and the Jews are the ones, because they are they're definitely a smaller group. So again, more just some inside my brain sort of a thing. And then I forgot where the other one's at. So let me just double check again. YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast here in just a moment, guys. Bear with me. I don't see any more tags. So, yep, no more tags. You know what? Okay, so Mitzvah Golem. I'm going to show that. That's a good point. Luke 19:27. Actually, I'm going to read a couple of these because there's, Okay, so Luke 19:27. The thing that about that verse. First, let me look it up. I believe that verse he was speaking metaphorically, not literally. However, in a different contextual setting, I could see how it could be taken literal in the sense that if it's the one I'm thinking of. It just scrolled on me. Where'd it go? A lot of comments. Good. I'm glad you guys are tuning in. That's great. Matthew 10. Oh, actually, that's a good one too. Okay, Luke 19:27 is what I'm looking up right now. So Luke 19:27. I should be putting these up on your screen, but that's okay. Luke 19 and 27. Okay. Let me go to 26 or 25. And they said to him, Lord, actually, that's something different. So, for I say unto you, pardon me, that unto everyone which had shall be given more, and from him that does not have, even what he has shall be taken away from him. But those mine enemies, this is the verse, but those are my enemies, which would not that I should reign, which did not desire for me to reign over them, bring them hither, and slay them before me. The argument is, whenever it gets brought up, the Christians say that's more speaking metaphorically, but it does seem to be very literal here. But the context of the chapter, I believe it's what is the kingdom of heaven, sort of in the what's it like, and it's almost like he's saying that God is going to destroy people who don't accept Him, so to speak. And I think that's kind of where it was going. So I'm going back to now Matthew 10 verse 5 through 6. See King James. Oh yeah. Let's see. Hold on a second. Matthew 10, 5 through 6. Looking that up now. 10, 5. Oh, 5? No, Matthew chapter 10. Oh, man, I got to get my eyes right. Matthew chapter 10. I went to Matthew chapter 5. Okay, Matthew 10, verse 5 and 6. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into the city of the Samaritans do not enter them, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Why did he say that? Well, because the prophecy actually says that he's going to be, I think, again, correct me somewhere on YouTubers, where I thought it was Jeremiah, but it might not be. It might be Isaiah or somewhere. It says where the new covenant is mentioned. I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. And it says right there with the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So that would be Jesus being accurate. Now, of course, we know the further you get along with New Testament teachings, in the book of Acts chapter 8, Peter has a vision, right? And in chapter 10, he gives the interpretation of that vision. And that whole time frame supposedly happened about 10 years or so after Jesus was long gone. So that's kind of what the general census is. And so basically for 10 years after Jesus's time on earth, they were doing nothing but trying to reach the Jewish people, I guess. This is the only impression I get, because it wasn't until the vision of Peter where officially the non-Jews are no longer to be considered unclean, but they should be going to the non-Jews as well. And that's why Paul got to a point where he himself was frustrated with trying to convince the Jews, so he went to the Gentiles, right? Or however that worked out. So anyway, that's the point. So let me see what else here. I actually like it when you guys pull up verses. That way I don't have to think so much. I can just look them up. Thank you, Novus, Jeremiah 31. Yep, 31. Very good. That's right. And for those of you who don't know that, I will read that for you. It's especially for the Christians who are tuning in. This is something you really should know. Again, thank you for pointing that out for me. I'm going to go to Jeremiah 31:31. I think it's verse 31, if I'm not mistaken. Chapter 31, and let me just go on down and see if that's it. 31. Yep, 31:31. But the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. It doesn't say anything there about the Messianic Jew, the Christian, the non-Jew. It doesn't say anything. It says I'll make the new covenant with them, right? And so there's that. And then let's see. Mitzvah Golem says over 700 modification errors in the Christian Old Testament versions, Hebrew Tanakh. Wow, yeah, I could see that for sure, no doubt. That's why you should really go to a Jewish source whenever you're looking for translations, because they're going to give you an honest word for word for the most part. Let's see. I just said that. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Gary Michaels says it's amazing that JC said, we'll call him J, not the C, J, not the C, said that he will say to many, I never knew you, but Christians are like, no, he meant those other guys, not my denomination. That's very true. That's how they justify it. You're so true. It's sad. I mean, but they have to. They've got to justify it somehow, because if they can't justify it, then it puts them in that nervous seat, and they don't want to go there. Hey, Janice, how are you? New Covenant does not equate to New Testament. That's correct. It does not equate to the New Testament. Very good. Okay, so I should have left my phone lines open, apparently. It's 2:20. Yeah, I'm going to probably wrap it up for now, because it's been like an hour and so. But really, guys, thank you. If you like the show, if you like this format, just let me know, and maybe I'll do this more often. Maybe I'll put a filler show in some of the open time slots until I get something else. But you guys let me know. Leave me some notes in the comments section after the video, or send me a Facebook message. Tell me your thoughts. If you're on Facebook and you like the idea of this format, send me some information. Let me know, because I don't want to do this if there's only like 1 or 2 viewers. But if you guys if you really enjoy it, I certainly don't mind, and we'll just see what happens. So for now, we're going to call that a wrap, and once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate your support, and I pray for you guys that you will all be safe during this time, and well provided for. Shalom, shalom, everybody.
תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. אני אתה אתם תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. חושבים דוברים לובשים בכל האופנים, זה טבעם של אנשים שונים. נזכור בסוף כולנו שותפים, חשוב תמיד להיות אנושיים. חושבים דוברים לובשים בכל האופנים, זה טבעם של אנשים שונים. נזכור בסוף כולנו שותפים, חשוב תמיד להיות אנושיים. אני אתה אתם תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב